Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of your favorite 1 hour podcast on the MCU. It's the MCU Crew. We're here. We did it. We've assembled for another week.
As you started saying that, my eyes started to water, and I feel like that's a medical condition,
What?
rather than me being emotional. I don't know. As you said it,
You just
my
love
eyes
being
started
here.
to water.
You're just here.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in trouble. That shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh well.
It's allergies.
Wait, why do you feel like you're in trouble?
Well, because nothing was happening. It was just JP's voice, and I wasn't even looking at the screen. And my eyes just at the corners went like water, 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 and I was like, "What does that mean?" It wasn't like I felt nothing. I was emotionally hollow, but what I felt was my eyes have decided to water. So
I feel that way about
there we
Pixar
go.
movies.
Oh, if you
That
just hear Pixar movies, you start getting watery-eyed?
Like that style of animation.
I mean,
They just
obviously
make me
for
cry
Bronze,
every time.
my eyes would water, right? Obviously, Bronze would get me emotional. But for you, JP, I don't get it. I don't
either. I don't know. That's a little weird.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's a little. My eyes wouldn't water for you. You know.
I know. Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's just weird. That's just weird.
Just strange is
It's
what
a
it
strange
is.
thing. Yeah. It's a strange thing.
Oh.
Anyways, so we're gonna discuss the Venom trailer this week. Not necessarily a part of the MCU, but it's MCU adjacent. So I think it's worth mentioning it. First off, how do we feel about that first Venom movie? Because I thought was okay. I was starting to say it sucked, but it was like, all right. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it, I guess, but it wasn't incredible. I don't know. How do you feel about the first Venom movie?
It certainly was a movie where the Venom Eddie Brock like buddy comedy bits were they were entertaining. I don't know if it's true to what I remember Venom being. Although when Venom was huge for me, I was like 13 and thought Venom was like the shit. I was like, Venom's the best. That's because I was living my best edgelord life. And so I love that, like, he's like Spider-Man, but like doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I enjoyed the bits where it was the two of them and the sort of goofiness there. I actually kind of liked the camp they played, but I think the plot, like a lot of the plot elements.
I couldn't tell you what the plot was. What was the plot of the first Venom? It was just him talking to himself for 2 hours. I was like, all right, this is all right.
And it felt like they could cruise through. Like they thought, we have Tom Hardy, we have Venom. We can like sort of cruise through, not having a plot. And I mean, the plot that was there, a lot of it was kind of like, what? Wait, why would that happen? But I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people who really enjoyed that movie. I wasn't one who like left the theater like, that was amazing. I was like, all right, that was a thing. That was fun, but it isn't like fun is the best way I can describe that movie. It wasn't great. It was fun. It was like fun. If you turn your brain off, it was fun.
It's a turn your brain off movie. That's a perfect way to describe it, I think, for me as well. Bronze, where were you on the first Venom movie?
Oh man, I had really mixed feelings because the parts where it was good, I really liked. But then there was so much of it I didn't. And I think there was so many places where it could have gone right, but just didn't. So like there was, I don't know if y'all remember, there was all this publicity right around the time the film came out because during promotion, Hardy said straight up, "Oh yeah, good time filming. My favorite 40 minutes were cut from the film."
Yes,
he
that's right.
Actually
that's
said
right.
that. He actually said that. So it was like I was so confused because so many people were like, "What does that mean?" And he, I think, said that once or twice where he's like, "Yeah, it's too bad. You guys will never see like my favorite 40 minutes were cut from the film." And while watching that movie, I was like, there was so much here to cut. So why, like, what?
We're going to see the Hardy cut one day. Coming to HBO Max. Let's get it trending.
Because so much of the film, I, as an audience member, is just like, can we get to Venom? Can we just get to Eddie Brock and the symbiote being in the same room? And instead, you're just watching this weird side plot of the symbiote traveling the earth and all of that. And so many people were like, well, they have to show the origin story. Not everyone knows what Venom is, like you three nerds here. And it's like, I understand that. but I don't think you need that much exposition. I think it could be like, my name's Eddie Brock. 2 years ago, an alien from outer space attached to me. Because like the premise is so crazy, but instead they were like, no, we have to break down every aspect of this to the audience, and you're going to be incredibly bored and incredibly uninvested while we do so, because you've seen the trailer and you know that this alien symbiote is going to attach to Eddie Brock, and you're just going to sit here for 45 minutes and watch inconsequential things ultimately happen until this cool thing happens. And the entire time you're just going to be waiting. Because that's how I felt, at least. I was like, yes, we get it. This girl's going to travel here, and then this somehow it's going to get to Eddie Brock. But did we really need to see every step of that journey?
But Bronze you bring up a great point that I remember leaving the theater thinking about, which was I couldn't tell you the timeline of this movie. I vividly remember being
either.
like, so wait, that the situation with like the girl, how fast do these people travel the world? Because how many days have passed? How, like, there's a whole timeline thing, and because they show you every step of the way, you're like, wait, so how much time has passed in Eddie Brock's life? Like, what's going, hold on, what is the story? And then finally everything catches up, but because they have to get through it so quickly, it's the problem with telling that whole story, giving a full origin story, and then just being like, and then she's just in America. Like, wait, but how long did that take? What was the process? And then you ask more questions. Yeah. Oh yeah. I have so many questions about like the plot of the movie, but whatever.
Yeah.
The lobster scene made me laugh.
Time. They just wasted so much time on this, like for you waiting to get to the good part. But then when we finally got to that, I actually did like it. It was very different because it seems like it's Eddie kind of fighting the symbiote, and also joking with it. But I kind of liked that script change because, I did Hardy's too. Weird.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I feel like they just kind of let him ad lib because he's always got like some weird voice he does, or just some weird bearing, and for some reason that makes every scene funny because just him being like, no, eat people is like really weird because of how he talks half the time.
I forgot until I was about probably 70 or 80% of the way through the trailer for Venom 2 this morning that only he can hear Venom. Right. So this entire time I was like, what? Why is no one reacting to this fucking awful voice? And then I realized, oh, right. Okay. Okay. I remember this movie now a little bit more than I did 30 seconds ago.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It's one of those things where I am sad that we are telling a Venom story and Spider-Man is nowhere to be seen, right? Because like I always felt that those two were hand in hand, and I think Spider-Man 3's version of Venom was like not. I try to erase it from my memory. I try to erase a lot of Spider-Man 3 from my memory. To be honest, it's been a while since I've seen that for good reason. But yeah, I think. I was right there with Jesse, right? Like 13, 14-year-old JP saw Venom, was like, this is sick. And then I saw Carnage and I was like, oh my God, he's just fucking murdering people. This guy's a sicko. Look at him. He's just an awful serial killer. He's crazy. And I thought it was awesome. And then to see him portrayed the way that he is, again, without a Spider-Man there. Like, are we going to get a full symbiote story? Like, are we, like,
in this movie, there's no way we get
not in this movie, but like if this does well, do we get a Venom 3 where they're just like, there's like 20 symbiotes now?
I mean,
that would be cool.
I would love that. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Symbiote Wars or whatever. I don't know what they'd call it. Yeah. I forget what
used to have a cartoon about that. And it had all the different ones, like the yellow one and like the green one. Oh yeah, I love all of them. That was a time when they were like, one Carnage did well. What if there was 6 Carnages? And everyone's like, oh, Moneymaker, brilliant.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love
it. And as a kid, I was like,
there a video game
people
with that?
Yes.
I remember there being a Carnage video game, I think, for Sega Genesis. That I was
it has
very
all the
into,
like Carnage kids. Yeah, the Carnage kids. Yeah. Carnage babies.
I think it was called Maximum Carnage or Separation Anxiety, I think. Or something like that.
It was,
I think,
oh my God.
Anxiety is
it was
one of them.
Spider-Man and Venom, Maximum Carnage. GameSpot gave it a
Okay, there we go.
3.5 out of 5 or something.
Oh, really? 3.5? I would have given it a little higher.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
I was a kid.
That's the GameStop review. I don't understand that at all.
Oh, well.
What does
there you
this
go.
look like?
Let me tell you, when I was 8, that game was definitely more than a 3.5. As an adult, I don't know. But as an 8-year-old, it was definitely like a 10 minimum.
All the Connors things, I remember being way into that. That's what got me to enjoy Spider-Man when Spider-Man was kind of lame. Like, people forget. In the 90s, Spider-Man was kind of lame. Like, he was like, no one wanted to be the kid who, like, I'm kind of a nerd, but I have superpowers. No one wanted to be that guy. We were all like, I want to be Spawn.
Oh, Spawn is pretty good. Yeah.
Right? People, that's what the 90s were. No one wanted to be like, Superman sucked. They're like, all right, we got to kill this guy because there's like, no one's reading Superman. So we, no one wanted the goody heroes, no one wanted to be that. But if you were like, I'm a drug dealing, pot smoking wizard, and I communicate with the dead, but I'm also like sentenced to hell. And like all that stuff, people were like,
this Are you talking shit on Constantine?
No,
I was talking about Spawn. I like Constantine
in fact,
as well.
I love Constantine.
I thought the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves is great. I think that's a great movie.
I actually like it too.
Yeah.
I just was just laughing because like to illustrate the point that like the description you gave fit like
it fit a lot.
A bunch of people.
It does fit. I will say, shout out to again Peter Stormare for being Satan in Constantine. The man shows up, kills it every time.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite actors. They're just like, we need a guy who can do a weird, like, Eastern European accent. There's only one man in Hollywood for the job. They bring him in. He shows up. He's like, and they're like, perfect. Thanks. Get out of here.
He's got the sticky tar on his toes when he stepped, or like dripping
that's so cool.
That's a great. I need to watch that
cool
movie.
When he just shows up. I was like,
again.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
No, I really liked like 98% of that movie. I just didn't like the final, I think, sequence, but I felt like 98% of that movie was on fire.
Yeah.
And so many people were like, but why? I was like, well, it's just at the end. I feel like sometimes they don't know what to do with characters like Constantine, where like clearly he has to have machine guns and stuff. And I'm like, but you just spent the first half of the movie showing us that he doesn't. Mm-hmm. So why are we falling into, but to get back to the original point, or actually to pivot a little bit, how is it going? Does anyone know how it is going to tie into the MCU? Because
I don't think it is.
The trailer,
it's
they
not.
Said in partnership with.
I think that's just licensing.
It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's part of like their licensing agreement with Sony, where it's like, hey, we'll keep doing these Spider-Man movies with you, and but we got to do this Venom movie, and that Mobius movie that we shot like 6 years ago, that's probably going to come out eventually. So we got to keep having this partnership. I don't know the specifics of that partnership, but I would think that Sony's probably paying a licensing fee of some sort, right? Like, or Marvel's taking a cut of the earnings or something like that on the film, because the first Venom was like wildly successful.
Well, there's. I was looking at, because I was going through the tweets today to see, like, I want to know what people are thinking about this trailer.
Yeah.
And one of the tweets I saw was like, even though it's not in the MCU, the newspaper that he's reading, do not quote me on this because I can't verify this, but apparently the newspaper that he's reading is it's the logo of the Raimi trilogy Bugle.
Oh, the Daily Bugle.
Yeah, it's that logo. So they're like, maybe it takes place in that universe.
Maybe.
But that doesn't make any sense because there was already a Venom.
Is that
but like
gonna
whatever.
cross over into Spider-Man? Because aren't they bringing all the other Spider-Men into?
And that might be how it's connected.
Third Spider-Man film. Because if it's like alternate universe, that would be kind of cool.
It was weird because like the general conversation that I saw was like, oh yeah, that's all but confirmed, right? And now people, for whatever reason, and I must have missed why, have like backed off on this idea of like, oh yeah, they're all in there. Like we don't think that they're going to be all in there this time. We don't really know what this next movie's going to have.
Doc Ock is confirmed though.
Is he?
That's confirmed.
Is he like 100% in?
I mean, the literal actor was like, playing Doc Ock again. And he was
Okay.
talking about how like he doesn't he because he's old, people were worried. Like he's like, I'm older than I was,
Yeah.
and people were worried. But he's like, when I first played Doc Ock, all I did was stand around and just emote. So he's like, no worries, and they're just gonna de-age me a little bit. I was like,
yeah. Well, the other thing too
okay.
is, didn't Jamie Foxx said that he was also in the new Spider-Man?
If that's true, that's gonna be so wild.
As the Shocker, which is weird because the Shocker, like already existed. Although, or sorry, as Electro, not the Shocker. Yeah, different. But yeah, then Andrew Garfield was also saying like he didn't get a call to be in it this past week, but that might have also just been, hey, can you go out there and say some shit so this dies down for a while because we're not ready to show a trailer.
Alpha Molina could just be like talking shit too. We don't know. I mean, maybe he's just like saying stuff to say it. Who knows? Because clearly that's like him being, oh yes, I, an actor from another movie that was in another, like that's a huge spoiler, and he just said it.
Yeah,
he just said it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, I'll take a live action Spider-Verse. That's people are aware it exists. That movie literally is one of the best Spider-Man movies. Period. So,
Into the Spider-Verse, you mean? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's one of the best, if not the best, for sure.
I'm reading a direct quote from Andy Serkis.
Okay.
Where he said, there are links between Venom and Spider-Man and the Marvel Universe and the Spider-Man story. We're treating this very much as I can't talk, as it's his own world. Such a weird sentence. The Venom story is his own world. There are nods and little moments, like the shot of the newspaper, the Daily Bugle, of course, but on the whole, he's unaware. They're unaware at this point of other characters like Spider-Man. So that's the way we've chosen to play this particular episode of the movie. But, well, we'll wait and see. We'll see what little things you can pick out of it. So that almost, I mean, that's not a hard no. That's more of just like, right now, he doesn't know. Because let's be real, Tom Holland, with where his version of Spider-Man is right now in the MCU, would beat the brakes off of where Venom is. Venom is going to need to undergo some type of a growth trajectory to be like a real threat.
Yeah.
Like a threat that we're like, oh, we want to see these people face off. And the reality is he's just not there yet, right? Because normally Venom
even
shows
in the trailer,
up like humble Spider-Man. And I just can't see this Venom humbling Spider-Man at all.
I'm so disappointed that Spider-Man 3 stole, I think, one of my favorite versions of the like Venom story with the like church and the bells and it like rips off of him. Like that's one of like the best moments in that whole like, oh, I think that's great. I'm so sad they stole that. And they're like, now anyone who else uses this copies.
They copied us. Yeah.
Oh, it sucks. That's one of my favorite moments.
It was a really good moment.
Like, we've ruined it for you. Good.
Well, they
got and it's in like the same film as Dancing Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
That scene will never be erased
all over the place
from my memory. That moment of him walking down, I will always remember where I was, when I was, when I saw. That was the type of scene where I'm in the theater. It starts happening, and I just kind of like pushed my head forward and looked around. Was kind of confused if everyone was watching the same fucking movie I was watching, and if I was like falling. I thought I was like lucid dreaming for a second, and then turns out I wasn't, because that was fucking weird.
It's crazy to think that Spider-Man 3 is from the same people that brought you the scene in Spider-Man 2, where like he stops the fucking train. Whoops, swear words. He stops the train, and they like carry his body, and then all of them are like, it's just a kid. And then like they give him his mask back, and the kid's like, don't worry, we won't tell nobody. And then Doc Ock shows up, and they're like, you're gonna have to come through us. And then he like pushes them all. Like that moment is like a great Spider-Man superhero moment.
Yeah.
And then the next movie, they're like, he gets a symbiote, and that symbiote makes him dance and be an asshole. It's like
and turn into like emo haircut. He changed his haircut too, because that's what the symbiote wanted. Yeah.
But have you guys seen the fan edits of Toby in the MCU?
Oh
I'll have to link you up. They're so funny. And it's just like pivotal moments from the MCU edited with Tobey Maguire in. And one of them's like, "Hey, Peter Parker, you got something for me?" And it's just Toby who's like, "I had to beat a woman with a stick to get this." And it's like him pointing at the Infinity Gauntlet. It's just Toby in the MCU. And it's so like the people behind that YouTube channel are so devoted to it. And it's
Great.
hilarious. I'll find it for you. It's so funny.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. Yeah, I had not seen that. So jumping back over into the Venom trailer, because we didn't even mention the title is Venom Let There Be Carnage, which I think was the comic book run that everyone loves from Carnage. How do we feel about old Mr. Harrelson as Carnage with that goofy fucking haircut? I think his face is a little too wide for the actual character of the comics, but I kind of like the haircut.
I can't lie. I kind of love it.
I kind of like it too.
I kind of love it.
Yeah. I think
I'm all about weird Woody Harrelson. When they were like, "Woody, we need you to act crazy," he was like, "How crazy?" And they're like, "All the crazy Woody."
Yeah, like full
He's
tilt.
like, "I can do that. I can do that."
Yeah.
I'm super down. I think it's gonna be wild. I think it's gonna be like a Nick Cage level of crazy acting, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I was always a fan of Woody, and then when he was in True Detective season 1, that was when I probably that was probably the peak when I was peak Woody. That's a weird thing to say. And ever since then, I've kind of watched most things that he's been in. So to see him now play one of my like adolescent favorite villains, I'm excited for it. I think he could pull it off. I think he's the right kind of crazy. I hope they don't like lean in, and it'll be hard because I think True Detective sometimes struggled with this as well when it just came to seeing Woody Harrelson act. I hope they don't lean too hard into him being like jokey, kind of like Venom is, right? Where he's like cracking jokes to himself or cracking jokes to Venom the entire time. He's just hopefully like murdering people, because that's what Venom, or that's what Carnage should be doing, is just nonstop murdering people if he follows along Carnage. But
yeah, I would hope if he told a joke, it would be not funny to anyone but him, like that kind of vibe.
Yeah,
where he's like, the crazy joke. We're like, okay, yeah. That's what my hope is. But also, this movie's doing the dark jokes. From the trailer,
true.
They're just like, we're back. Venom wants to eat everyone, and Tom Hardy's gonna be like, "Don't, Venom." He's gonna be like, "But I want to eat them, Eddie." He's like, "No, Venom, don't do it. Come on, dude, Eddie, let me eat them."
Does he now? Correct me. The first time that Venom spoke in the trailer, I guess I had erased that movie from my mind. But the first time he spoke, I was real fucking confused why the Cookie Monster was voicing Venom, because he sounds just like
What
him.
do you mean?
He sounds just like him.
Let's go make food, Eddie. I'm so excited.
That's exactly what he sounds like. Is that Hardy doing the Venom voice? Is that what that's supposed to be?
I don't know. I thought, is it Andy Serkis? It's someone famous as the voice.
Serkis is someone the director. Yeah, okay. Chat's saying that's Hardy doing Venom's voice.
Hardy's doing Venom. Oh my god,
dude! He sounds like the Cookie Monster. And
hey guys, it's me, Tom Hardy.
I think that might be my headcanan now. As I watch that movie.
I like scrambled eggs. They are delicious. Yum, 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 yum.
That's what I want.
I desperately want
Venom.
Tom Hardy, and then just the Cookie Monster as like the Venom symbiote is just Cookie Monster. We're going to eat lots of cookies today, Eddie. Yum, 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 yum.
That's what he sounds like.
That's what I want more than anything.
That's what he sounds like. It sounds ridiculous.
Why does Hardy always have a weird voice? Whether it's like Batman or Peaky Blinders, I feel like he always.
Oh, did he have a weird one in Peaky Blinders? I don't.
He had like a weird demeanor where he kind of would always.
Wasn't he kind of timid?
How do you do?
It was like a timid talk, a timid speech.
Yeah. It was. He would just be like, "Well, here's how it's gonna happen, eh? You're gonna give me the money, sign over all your businesses, and then it's mine." And he would like kind of talk like,
"Get all the money, Eddie. We're gonna get lots of cookies."
I think we need to revoice this movie with Bronze as the normal voice and Jesse as Venom.
Somebody said that was
That's a
his
funny
normal
accent
voice.
you have,
That's
Eddie.
his normal voice?
I don't think that's his
I'm
normal voice.
sorry.
Well,
If that is, I apologize to Mr. Hardy.
I will
But
say I
it
like
was-
his Inception voice. The voice he's like, "Don't worry, darling."
yeah, I thought
Like, I
that
love
was
his
his
Inception
normal voice. I thought
His
Inception
Inception voice is
was
great.
his normal voice. Is it not?
I don't think he reminds me. So when I was in college, I'll never forget. I took like several acting classes, and I realized all acting is lying. And one of the acting teachers said to me, "Jesse, you only wear masks. Show us your real self." And I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Take off the mask. Who are you?" And that's how I feel Tom Hardy is.
Wow, that was intense for a teacher to.
Oh, I know. But the thing is, I still to this day have no idea what they were talking about. I think they just thought me being goofy was me like hiding my true self, and I was like, "I hate to break it to you, lady.
We're just.
This is who I am."
It's just
But,
goofy
like,
Jesse.
But I feel like that's Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is like, if we ever heard his true voice, our ears would explode. Like, he's like one of those like voice of God moments.
Voice of God
like,
moments.
he's like,
yeah.
"Ooh," yeah. We can't truly know who Tom Hardy is. His normal voice is probably like, "Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Hardy." Right? Like, you can't. Who knows who this guy is? Everything he's in, Bronze is right. Everything he's in, he's like, they're like, "All right, so Tom, this is the character you're playing," and he's like, "All right, where is this person from?" They're like, I don't know, Tom. He's like a sort of a foppish British dude. He's like, "Okay, darling, let's go." They're like, "Perfect, Tom, perfect. I nail it every time." That's Tom. That's Tom Hardy's voice.
I'm gonna go with Tom
Well,
Hardy's
like
real
an
voice was the
alien.
Inception voice. I hope that's true. That it's the Inception voice.
I don't know if his real voice is in Peaky Blinders, but like with Tom, and this is what I love and hate about him. It's like every other actor in that show is so brilliant. They have like just the star-studded, just killer cast of serious actors. And no matter what setting you put him in, it just always seems like he's a cartoon character. Like he's playing D&D and everyone else is acting. And I don't mean that to say he sucks. I'm just saying like his style is so different that it's like for him this is a role-playing game and everyone else is like rooted in reality, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I love him. I unabashedly love Tom Hardy.
What was that movie
Love him.
where he played the twins? What and that was like a like crime
Played the
syndicate movie.
twins.
Yeah, there was. Oh, that was Legend. Okay, yeah. So in Legend, he plays two of the main characters. Yeah, they were the Cray twins or whatever. They were like really bad people when it came to just straight up murdering and all that stuff.
It's me, Tom Hardy. Don't worry, Batman. I just talk into a cup and now I'm Bane.
Now do Bane doing the Cookie Monster.
Oh no! Watch out, Venom symbiote. Oh, it's okay. It's okay, Bane. We get lots of cookies today. No, stop it. I don't want any more cookies. No, we get a lot of cookies, and then we bring the Batman. Ah, now that is an idea. Yeah.
Yep. No,
All I'm saying is one
that
man
movie
show.
writes itself.
Call me.
Yeah.
Off Broadway.
Jesse Cox is Tom Hardy. That's the name
I
of the.
am Tom Hardy.
Not
Yeah.
even Venom, Tom Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's okay. Don't worry, Bronze. You can come to show.
Jesus
I'd
Christ.
be in the front row.
Yeah.
And you'd have to like bring a tarp. It'd be one of those shows where like watermelons get smashed and stuff. Oh yeah.
Oh, so it's like a Gallagher. It's like a Gallagher show now.
Yeah, but like, more entertaining. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. The movie comes out, or at least at the moment, it's scheduled to release on September 24th, just before kind of the big fall season. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be there like day one. I wasn't there for Venom day one. A hell of a lot of people were though. As that movie almost made $1 billion. It made 856 million in the box office. I
Is
don't
that
know.
worldwide?
Yeah, that is worldwide. I think it did like
What's
very
the
well.
Chinese market for this? Because
That-
I feel like
think
it's probably
very,
huge,
very
right?
huge in China.
I remember hearing that. I remember hearing that Venom is like an incredibly popular commodity in China.
So domestic, it did 213 million. In the UK, it did 27 million. They're just Hardy fanboys over there. Where did it do in Mexico? In Latin America, Mexico was the top earner, 24 million. Russia slash, what does it mean when it says Russia slash CIS? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Anyways, it earned 32 million there. And then in China, it made 269 million.
Yeah, so that's comparable with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, those are the old Soviet countries. Okay.
No, the CIS is not the droid army from Star Wars.
Correct.
That's like
Correct.
the Confederate systems? No, it's not.
Yeah, it did very well in China. Opening, it did 100 million. Here in the US, it only did 80. So Tom Hardy's big in China, I guess. And probably explains a lot of the reason why this movie got made. A second one, rather,
Yes.
got made. Yeah.
It explains all the Transformer movies, so, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I also, the other tidbit that still kind of blows my mind, like in a lot of ways, the Venom movie is just an oddity from so many different facets, but the fact that Andy Serkis is directed the first one and is directing this movie is also just
I mean, let that man do what he wants.
no, I'm saying it's great. I don't know. That's just a weird, I didn't know he had it in him, you know?
He gollumed his way into
Yeah.
Hollywood's heart. Let him have what
he really
wants.
did.
I mean, so basically, from my understanding, is he started directing pickup scenes, and basically they had 2 filming teams on The Hobbit, and so Serkis ended up directing like almost half of that film. He was like the director of Team B or whatever, and Jackson was the director of Team A because he had like a huge interest in directing. So then he kind of used that to direct the new, what is it, Jungle Book?
Yeah,
which
he
I
didn't direct the first
actually-
Venom, to correct. It was he did do
Yeah.
God damn it, I can never say this. Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle is what he directed.
Is it? There's like
Is it
3
Mowgli?
Jungle Book movies. No, it's Mowgli.
Okay,
But
it's
there's
Mowgli,
like 3 Jungle Book films that all came out, I feel like, within months of each other, and they're live
Yes.
action.
Yeah, it was that
And
one. 'cause
his
I'm
is
looking at
actually-
IMDb.
Not terrible, but the mocap is like Uncanny Valley. It's like too humanoid for me. That's just me, because it looks like a human like face almost on an animal. I don't know. That's just
Singing
my
that
opinion.
one?
It's just my no. It's
I
actually
wanna
a
be
lot
like
more
you.
brutal.
Don't sing that?
Yeah, it follows the book a lot more closely, and it's like actually kind of it's brutal.
Gruesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book's not a happy Disney movie by any stretch of the
No.
imagination. No. It's a little different. Yeah, a little different. I also didn't know that he was the dramatic director in Heavenly Sword. That
What does
2007
that mean?
game.
Oh, the PlayStation 3 launch title that
Yeah.
very few people played.
With the red-haired lady. Yeah.
Oh, the sexy redhead? Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that game. It was.
I didn't know that.
I don't remember any of it actually.
Yeah. So that's a little strange. But we'll see. That's Venom. It's just a weird thing. What else is going on? Kind of a light. There's only 2 really, I guess, quote, big news bits the past week as it comes into the MCU. Dave Bautista was out there saying that Drax will not die in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but he should be recast because he is done. He is stepping away. He's getting too old to play Drax. I think he said he's 54, 55. He wants to move on.
But then he got a reply
What do you mean he got a reply?
from the boss himself.
Oh, yeah. But I think he still said he's done. He said, you're welcome back anytime, etc. And he said he won't be recast, but.
Yeah, he said he's not going to recast him. And then I think he says there's like, after 3, that's it. The Guardians trilogy is over.
Well, he said, yeah, that's the story that I want to tell. Will be finished in 3 is what James Gunn said in that tweet. Yeah.
So I think that's probably like we may not get another Guardians of the Galaxy, but the characters will still be around. But I don't, I feel like this is one of those things where when people talk about Avengers, like we may not get another Avengers, but we'll get like some form of what the Avengers are, right? It'll be like, West Coast.
We'll definitely get
Superstar,
another Avengers.
Backflip Avengers.
I would.
Yeah, young kid, teen Avengers.
Yeah.
I think this basically frees them up to trim down the cast a little bit, because I don't think, I'm gonna sound like a dickhead here, I don't think that many people are invested in like Mantis and those characters. I think people obviously love Groot and Rocket, but I think this will like allow them to kind of trim who is going to be drafted into other teams, and also free up Peter Quill to potentially be like hanging out with the Warlock and Nova Prime or whatever. So I mean, that's my theory. I think the other thing is, okay, let me try to put my thoughts into words here. So like with Guardians, I feel like they didn't do a very great job like developing Drax's character. That was probably one of my main complaints of Guardians 2. And it was like he had all this grief in Guardians 1, and that's like a main motivating drive for his character. And in Guardians 2, there was like one scene where he's like, oh yeah, I'm grappling with this loss, or the one person I wanted revenge against is dead, and now I don't know what to do. And I think he has like one or two throwaway lines about it, but the rest of the time he's kind of just like the comic relief. So I don't even know what they're gonna do with that character, like, because they just never really
he became
continued that
comedic
thread
for sure. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
You're right, because he had like one or maybe two moments with Mantis where it was like, oh shit, this is like the dark history, the dark past. Because his like story was evident in the first one. It's kind of fucked up, right? Like he's had a rough go of it thus far. And I hope we get to see a little bit more of that in the third one. I think the third one will probably just be a different tone completely, right? Because like we've spoken about how the tone so far of Phase 4 has been skewed to be a little bit depressing in a lot of ways, and I think that will probably come true again in Guardians 3. Depressing with a hint or a tinge of comedy.
We never even got to see why he's called like Drax the Destroyer, because in the comics there's a part where he straight up rips Thanos' heart out of his chest. Like the revenge belongs to him.
Yeah.
But like in the movies he's super nerfed, and I'm not using that to say like they messed it up. I don't think they messed it up. It's just a different version of Drax. But I don't see long term like how long are those jokes going to be cute?
Right.
Like him taking everything literal. Like just from a writing perspective, how much mileage can you physically get out of that before you're just like, oh, okay, we've got it. We've seen everything you can do. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And maybe that is also a good thing if he is stepping on. We haven't seen it yet in the MCU. I don't know when it will happen, but it will be a weird thing when someone gets recast on the level of like a Drax or whoever you want to throw in there. Like we've only seen one recast from Iron Man to Iron Man 2. And like it was fine because the MCU I don't think was on the level that it is now, right? But that day will definitely come soon, right? Like it'll definitely happen. It'll be a little strange, I think, for people to adjust to. I know, at least for me personally, it will be strange to see a I don't know, name a superhero, a non-Peter Quill is Chris, right? Like I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how they do that. It'll be weird.
I'm dreading the recast of Doctor Strange.
Right.
I have a feeling it will happen, though. I predicted it when they cast him. They were like, Bronze, like in my chat, like, how do you feel about the casting for Doctor Strange when it was like unveiled it was going to be Benedict Cumberbatch? And I was like, amazing casting, super freaking worried, because these movies like absorb your life because there's so many of them. And this guy's a serious actor. And I mean, Robert Downey Jr. complained about that. He was like, I used to do other roles and now I'm just Tony Stark. I was like, I don't think he's the type to be like, oh yeah, I'll do this for 15 years. I think he's the type to be like, I'll do this for maybe 10 years. And then I'm going to go back to making the artsy / serious type of films that I was making before this, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
that's
that's
not the
why we
case.
need newer, younger heroes, different stories.
And that
you
might
can
be where they
phase
go.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if you can phase out Captain America and change the Captain America, you can do anything, right? Like you can create a different story.
That's
I think
true.
it's smart that they kept Adam Warlock in their pocket instead of being like, I mean, everyone knows the comics knows Adam Warlock is in that Thanos arc, like is important to that Thanos arc, and they're like
Pivotal, yeah.
they're like, no, let's hold on. So I think that's smart. I think, having that in the back pocket and being like, if we need another warlocky person, another sort of wizard, we have a few of those lying around that we can break out if we need to not have Benedict be in this series. So I think they're being very smart about like not unleashing every hero, and I'm fine with that because there's a lot to work. There's a lot to work with. So maybe
and
that's
technically, I mean, depending on who they introduce, we've had a lot of different Sorcerer Supremes. It could be Magic, Colossus's sister. I mean, in the comics, at one point, it was Loki.
Yeah.
And they are putting a lot of time and effort into developing Loki as a character. I mean, that I think it could work because I think he has the personality to pull it off. But it depends. I don't even necessarily think it'll be a character that's like already super developed. It could be somebody they start putting time into now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if they go with any multiverse stuff, you can be like, no, this is Doctor Strange, but like the other Doctor Strange. Like you could do anything you want at that point.
I still stand by the idea that if they really just lean into that multiverse bullshit, it's gonna like cheapen the entire MCU for me.
Sure, well, it cheapens everything. The multiverse ruins everything in the end.
It does,
because then nothing is permanent and everything can change. But at the same time, it lets you kind of like have fun, and so you get fun what if versions of stories. It allows you to be like, and in this multiverse, all the superheroes are dead except for random terrible hero that's like, I'm the last one, right? I think that's fun. There's a lot of things you can do, but you're totally right. Multiverse in general, it doesn't matter what the comic series is, if it's DC, Marvel, whatever, like 90s cliffhanger, it doesn't matter what the publisher is, it always ends up sucking in the end because it's like, we had a massive story arc, everyone's dead. But that was the different one. We tricked you. That was a different multiverse.
Yeah, there's no value. There's no weight to anything after that.
I think it's just tough though because it's one of those things where it's like the realities of filmmaking. These movies take so long to make, and the actors they continue aging. So, I mean, I don't know how other way. Like, I'm sure there are some writing tricks you can use, but at some point we're gonna have to just start hand waving some of this away, like we were talking about with Black Panther. With that, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like stuff like that's just going to happen. It's tragic, and Chadwick Boseman's passing. Obviously, there are bigger impacts to that than just losing Black Panther, but that is one of the impacts, right?
Yeah.
So it comes down to like, how do you honor someone's legacy when something tragic like that happens, but also still have it narratively make sense, and it's hard.
Yeah. And that's huge moving forward for all these, just like you were saying, Bronze. Like, at least in Endgame, they had straight up end title cards for the main Avengers. Like, they signed it, they're bowing out. So anything we have in the future is like, if they're there, great. But like, that was, I think, the end of that main Avengers cast, right? I don't expect to see
I would think so.
a future Avengers movie where they're the main characters. Like, I just don't. It's going to be a whole different crew. And they got to be like, we gave you 10 years. Thanks a lot. Moving on. And, you can keep Hemsworth and everyone around and just like show up and do fun things. But for the most part, I think what we're doing right now is establishing the new era of like new characters. And I have a feeling that all the old characters are the ones who are ushering in. Like,
Those
they're
are the
sticking around long
mentors,
enough to usher in the new characters who will then, have the cred of like, well, if Thor likes this guy, he must be pretty cool. Can't wait to see what he could do.
Yeah. You mentioned the old Avengers, of the six, the two continuing on, Hemsworth and I'm blanking on Hulk's name, but Hulk. It'll be like
But Hulk,
what the fuck do they do with Hulk now? Right? Like
hopefully
he's
a
like,
lot. Because
yeah,
he
Mark
does
Ruffalo.
nothing.
Well, but like what he's like what what do they do with he's just gonna be walking around in She-Hulk when he goes and says hi to his cousin. Hey cousin, how's it going? It's in like a fucking courtroom hanging out.
I feel like we need a solo Hulk movie, like especially after the events of Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Because that movie, I recently rewatched it. That movie's heartbreaking in like in the Hulk scenes.
Oh yeah.
It's like somehow Taika did it with a shred of humor, but like that moment where he's like having a panic attack in the Quinjet and he turns back into a human and Thor basically tells him like, yeah, we need you as the Hulk, and him realizing like this thing that kept me hostage in my own body. Like he describes it as being in the trunk of the car versus having one hand on the wheel is the only thing that makes him useful.
Yeah.
And him being like, I have 6 doctorates, and him like having to advocate for himself in that way. But like everybody being like, yeah, no, we just need you to smash stuff. That's narrative that I think deserves to be explored. And I love the Hulk. And like Ragnarok is the only version of Planet Hulk we're probably gonna get. And I'm like, when is this character gonna get some resolution? Because this is, I think, a heart-wrenching, compelling story. And it keeps getting played for a joke. This man is a hostage in his own body. And he can't even, at one point, this is the darkest thing that's ever been said in the MCU. At one point, he talks about how he tried to kill himself.
Yeah. Pretty early
on. And the green guy spit the bullet out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the darkest things. I've never seen another superhero outside of like Logan say that they tried to kill themselves.
That scene with Black Widow when they're in, I forget what country they're in, but
I think it's the first Avengers, right?
Yeah, it's when he's like being recruited. That scene's probably like one of the darker scenes in the entire MCU. So much so that he's even like
helping poor people in India and like running like this little community clinic.
He says the line about shooting himself, and then like 10 or 15 seconds later he jokes about like ripping off Black Widow's head by like saying, oh, the guy's he's trying to see who else is here and what she was gonna do, and she pulls the gun on him. Like that whole scene is real dark.
Well, like the context of the scene is heartbreaking too, because on one hand they treat him like he's like a volatile bomb. Like what is the answer to the Hulk problem? Right? But then on the other hand, he's literally like doing what makes him calm. He's like, I'm just gonna help people in this like really poor neighborhood, and I'm just gonna be like very calm. And then they come and they're like, hey, no, we're gonna like ask you to come save the world and be an angry rage beast, but also we're gonna treat you like a threat the entire time. And there was a moment where I was like, you could have just left him in India. He was managing his anger in the best way he could, but you guys are like, you use him as a gun to point at people, and then you want to throw the gun away. And we've never had a movie where we get into like that.
I feel like they tried to resolve that though in Endgame, right? They made him brawn and brain.
Yeah, but they skipped over they
skipped over a lot. Like they were like, oh, remember when like he and Natasha were like a thing?
Yeah.
And then he comes back and sees her. He's like, hey, Nat. And then
that was like the most interesting part of Age of Ultron. Yeah. That whole story.
They never talked about it. They spent a whole thing never talking about it. Yeah. I too was like, wait. And then she died, and he was like,
fuck, I'm real.
I don't care, and we'll let Hawkeye grieve. I was like, this dude.
I didn't understand that at all. I was like, is this what's gonna make him fly off the handlebars? Like, nothing.
He just kind of glossed over it. I agree. Yeah,
it's so weird. I always was like, we need some kind of conversation with him about the fact that like the only person to show him genuine love is dead.
Man,
and that man did not care. He was like, well, Hulk think it all right. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. I think if anything, that just continues the trend of like Age of Ultron being this weird movie in the center of the rest of the MCU, where just strange things happened, and we're not going to really discuss them all that much.
Man, Age of Ultron is so hit and miss all over the place.
It is, dude. It has one of my favorite scenes in the entire MCU where they're just hanging out on the Avengers Tower, and like the whole goof with the hammer on the table. It's like one of the best scenes in the whole MCU. And then
glad it had a payoff. Super fun.
yeah,
Love all that.
Yeah.
James Spader, I love James Spader in everything. And they were like, let his weird voice be the voice of Ultron. I was like, yeah, no, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in for
I was
all
there
of this.
from
And
the first time I heard it. Yeah,
yeah, but then it also has the weird like Whedon things that always happen. Like it's a strange movie because Joss Whedon does that thing where he's always just like, it's goofs. It's like there is literally a man trying to smash a city onto the planet. Like the stakes are much higher than like goof time with Joss Whedon. And yeah. And now that I know that every Joss Whedon thing has like a dude falling on a woman's boobs, now that I know that, I'm like, well, I can't unsee that from the MCU. I know that's there now. Like, cool. What a fun trope. Like, oh, boobies.
yeah.
No.
Jesus. Let's not get into the whole
In
Whedon
general, I
bullshit.
feel like that guy sucks at writing women, and now we know why, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
But imagine if
I don't
Cookie
know.
Monster Venom was there. That's
what I want to see. I want to see the Scientist
imagine.
Hulk and Cookie Monster Venom just hanging out.
Don't worry, Scientist Hulk. I get you a date with the pretty redhead. No, stop it. Hey, girl. How you doing? You are so hot. I love you. Munch. I just like to imagine behind him cookies are like exploding out of like black goop. Like just like cookie crumbles.
What? Yeah. God, I'm still thinking about that trailer I'm still thinking about Venom in terms of just how weird Venom is.
First off, did we even talk about how the trailer is 90% like a goof on him going into a store and the lady being like, "Hi, Venom."
Yeah.
And he says hi back. And then the end is like, he says he's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like, don't kill her. She's like, what?
Yeah.
Venom's gonna kill me?
That's what that trailer was. It was him walking in and out of fucking like corner stores.
The goof.
And then Carnage was in jail.
Venom, don't kill him. Venom. Don't you do it. Don't you murder Venom. That's the goof of this entire movie.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for like the
I'm excited. That's what I was about to say. I'm excited. Like, I'm ready for it. I want to go in and be like, Venom, don't you eat those people. But I want to eat them, Eddie. Don't do it, Venom.
Dude.
But they look so good, Eddie. I want to munch on them.
I'm
just this once.
Look, I'm not gonna be able to see that movie now without thinking about the Cookie Monster the entire time. And I think that's only going to like make the experience better.
Oh,
it's gonna make I'm gonna be dying laughing the entire movie. And people are gonna be like, what the fuck? Like someone just got ripped apart on screen. It's like, yeah, but it was the Cookie Monster. Okay, that guy's on drugs. Let's move on. Let's not talk to that guy anymore. Yeah.
Don't worry, Eddie. It's okay. I eat them later. Yeah. Jesus. Oh man, I'm so excited.
Do we think it's because there's this like negative connotation associated with doing like darker films now? So they're trying to make it, because I feel like there is like a sort of trend. Like, well, because it's like everybody kind of makes fun of the DC films for being
Suicide
dark.
Squad stuff, yeah. Oh, you just mean like the darker in general. Okay. Not necessarily like the bad guy, good guy movie type deal. Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like they gotta make it funny. They gotta make sure it can hit multiple audiences. So they've got to throw in Cookie Monster Venom to make it.
I mean,
he was like more lighthearted.
He was like that in the first movie.
Yeah.
A little bit, if not all the way. So I don't really know if like the tone is changing all that much from the first to second. Granted, we haven't really seen that many scenes with Carnage, which if they go the book route, like I remember that one specific scene where it's just got the straight one finger from Carnage as he's just like straight up killing a man. I will always remember that still from the comic.
The T-1000 murder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was actually like a little chat bubble where it made like a noise when it, I remember that little strip very well.
Maybe that's the smart thing where it's like, because Carnage is so violent and so over the top and is like, I am super serious bad guy, that it's fun to have Venom be like, don't worry, this guy is kind of poopy, we take him out. right? Like maybe that's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they need you to root for Venom more because
Mhm.
Venom is kind of like a, anti-hero or whatever.
Right.
And we don't, and
Here's
he
the
has
thing.
to be the hero because we don't have Spider-Man. So it's like they have to make him seem good. So they gotta add some levity. Even in the
There
first
is a
film.
scene. There is a scene in the first movie that at the time I was like, this is so dumb. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I actually kind of love this. When Venom straight up, he's like, I'm kind of the outcast of my world. Right? He like literally is
Yeah.
like, I'm a giant, I'm a space nerd.
Yeah.
None of the other Venom, like none of the other symbiotes like me. I kind of suck. And I'm alone, just like you, Eddie. At the time I was like, what the hell is this? And
Yep.
now looking back, I'm like, I kind of love this. I kind of love that they're like, because when you think about it in terms of Cookie Monster and Tom Hardy, it's even better. Because it's like, oh, they're just a bunch of goobers. All they have is each other. And they hang out together and they're just like, oh, we are up to goofs. Right? Like he's a monster, but he's also like a sad kind of pathetic monster. And I was like, you know what? Something about that I love now. Something it grew on me. Now I'm like, that's kind of fun. That's kind of fun.
A couple of years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, they tried to do maybe 4. Oh God, time moves so fast. They did like a run where Carnage it was a miniseries where Carnage tries to be a good guy,
Oh,
but
really?
still ends up being a bad guy every time. I forgot his impetus to why he does, but he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna stop this crime," and he like basically explodes the dude, and all this blood goes flying on the grandma who he rescues from the robber, and he's just like, "Whoops, sorry." Wasn't that from Axis inverting his personality? Yeah, I just remember reading it and being like, what if they did this as a movie? It would just be so Deadpool-like, but I don't know. He tries to be a good guy and then just still murks people left and right.
I think he's just going to be a savage. I hope he is just a straight up savage in the movie.
Scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I hope all of the Carnage scenes borderline on like psychotic energy, right? Of just being an absolute fucking nutcase. But I don't think the movie's rated R, right? Like was the first one rated R?
No, it wasn't.
Someone in my chat made a good point. Who was it? Avanar said darker movies equals less kids watch. Humor equals all can watch. It sucks that we can't have dark though. We still have the animated movies at least. It's pretty on point, right? Like the more accessible a movie is from a content perspective, the more money it will make, and that's the whole goal of these. Right. At the end of the day, it's not to tell a good story. It's to make as much money as humanly possible.
With all that said, I just want to put this out there. My father, who I think I've mentioned on this podcast, who does not handle superhero movie well, he like cannot get through them, unabashedly loves all of the Deadpool movies. Like there's times where I've watched him be like, "Oh, I love this one," and I'm like, "What? Deadpool?" And he's like, "Oh, this scene's great," and I'm like, "This is the one that Deadpool's what got you?" And yeah, it's crazy. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way my dad's gonna sit through a movie scene where like a dude gets his body ripped in half and then has to regrow his legs and has his like dick hanging out. There's no way this is my dad. And my dad's like, it's crazy. So I mean, and that's an R. I have to imagine, Deadpool it's probably the exception to the rule, but it proves that if you do something in a way that people like, it's both comedy and like way over the top. You can do it. You can pull it off.
Well,
if you
go
100% in.
You can't
like,
show
all
that.
Right, we're in.
You can't show that to a 11-year-old though, right? Like
but they'll still find a way to watch it. Let's not even pretend.
Well,
they're still going to watch it.
But yes, but they're not going to be buying tickets with their other. You know what I'm saying? Like the money, they will definitely lose money in the end when it comes to putting a rated R thing on a movie compared to having it be PG-13 or something like that. Ultimately,
I mean, Deadpool.
But Deadpool did very well. I don't know
$783 million.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is Venom made 100 more than that, right?
Sure.
But I don't disagree with
$785.
Yeah, that's I didn't realize they make that lot, or they made that.
Yeah,
much. Logan
made $619 million. yeah, it's interesting to see. It made a lot, but you're right. Venom, but here's the thing. Venom, I think, had a lot of hype going in because it was Venom.
Yeah.
I'm curious what Venom 2 will be like compared. Will it have a drop off? Will it do better because Carnage is in it? I have no clue.
I think most sequels usually have a drop off, right? Isn't that the trend? Unless it's like an Avengers style thing where they just add more
Yeah.
big name actors.
But I also would say most people know Venom more than Deadpool as well. Like if you had to go to like the average nerd, most people are aware of Venom because Venom was like the biggest thing in the world for a while.
Yeah.
And Deadpool
Well, and there was
is
an
kinda
animated version, right? Which I think like
Mhm.
helps a lot for awareness. Is if there's an animated version people grew up with, then that helps. I don't remember a Deadpool animated version when I was a kid.
No,
No.
that did not exist.
Only recently was there a Deadpool animated version that was, I think, in like Spider-Man animated show or something.
Oh, really?
But I don't know when the hell I think it was in the last 10 years.
I just
maybe?
remember the game. Whatever that the like PS4, Xbox One game, PC game, whatever the fuck that was. I don't think it was
the
good.
Deadpool game way back
Yeah.
when.
Yeah. Wait,
I mean, that was a fun game, but that was also but that was also
Was that pre-movie or was that
That-
around the movie?
that was post. It was pre-movie, but post whatever that thing that Ryan Reynolds was shopping around.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he
Gotcha.
had like the animatic or whatever he was shopping around, and so it was like in that space where they were like trying to get the movie made still.
Yeah, maybe that was PS3 era. Maybe that wasn't on PS4. I remember it being PC though.
I remember the scene where Deadpool like goes to the naked spa. That was pretty great.
I didn't play the game very long, so I don't remember that scene, but I can only imagine how absurd
It was
the
great.
scene was. Okay.
It was as absurd as you can imagine.
Great.
As absurd as you can imagine.
Great. The other two bits of news, I found one here while we were chatting. As you do, as Disney tends to do, they have submitted WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to the Emmys. WandaVision is going as a limited, so they're not competing against one another. WandaVision is going as a limited series, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going for best drama. Do you think they have a chance? Do you think we? Jesse, what is that?
Those categories are so out of whack to
I've
me.
never seen that look on her face before.
I just like the way you said it. I was like, that. I mean, I guess they don't want them to compete.
Right.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's so weird that it's like best limited series goes to WandaVision and best drama goes to, what was it? Best drama? Is that what it was?
Yep. Best drama for
Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I would have like reversed that because there's more character moment stuff. Like the whole thing is about, that's the first time I've ever been like, oh yeah, no, I care about Wanda. In the entire MCU, that's the first time I was like, yeah, this girl's been through some shit. And I don't know, maybe I feel like they're reversed. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter in the end. An award's an award, but it just seems, maybe they think they can win.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been nominated
series.
yet. That's the first hurdle, right? They most likely will not be nominated, I would think. But it's what will be the first Marvel movie to win a big thing?
Yeah, have they not won any music or like
Black Panther
graphical?
Did it win Best Picture or what? It won something, but it wasn't like Best Picture, was it? Let's see.
No, I think they won one. They won a few. I think one was for like costuming, and I think the other one was for cinematography.
So it was nominated for Best Picture. It won for Best Costume, Best Original Score, and Best Production Design.
Oh, okay.
It's the first superhero film to receive a Best Picture nomination and the first MCU film to win an Academy Award.
I'm going to be honest. Awards are like so political, and there's this general stigma around comic book movies that they're bad.
Totally.
Like there's the, and I understand that like our standards do drop a little bit I think subconsciously we all kind of do that. Like when you watch, a normal movie versus an MCU movie, you're willing to, I think, forgive a lot more. But even despite of that, I think some of the MCU films are really good, but I don't anticipate. I think like people would be like, "How did this win Best Picture? It's a stupid comic book movie for stupid people."
Well,
I
here's the
just
thing.
don't see. Was it Scorsese? There was recently like a
Oh,
huge
Yes,
yeah.
director
Scorsese's the one
Yeah,
who was like,
Scorsese,
who talked a bunch of crap on how stupid comic book movies are and how stupid the people who watch them are, I think.
Yeah.
It's like,
So according to the wiki, the visual effects awards, they like won a bunch of those.
Yeah.
They've won a bunch of MTV and TV awards. They the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy won some Hugo awards. But for the most part, most of the awards that the Saturn awards they've cleaned up at, apparently they've done very well there. But most of the like Academy awards, every single one has been for Black Panther.
Yeah.
So
That was the only ones that
they won Best Original Score, Costume Design, Production Design, all that stuff. The BAFTAs, they won for visual effects for Black Panther. Black Panther won a ton of awards. But none of the other films on like major awards. Not to say that the sci-fi awards and things like that aren't major, but
They're
like
not
the
an
things
Oscar.
that people in Hollywood care about,
Yeah.
most of it was all Black Panther. There's very little else that they've won with.
Do you think I'm thinking of the movies that we know in terms of just the content. Do you think any of those is like Oscar bait / Oscar worthy? They're all just kind of like popcorn films.
Currently, right now?
Yeah, the films that we know.
Not that I know of, no.
I think Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania will win Best Picture, 100%.
I couldn't tell you. I was asleep. I don't remember what happened in that movie. I had to go rewatch it in parts to figure out what was going on. I didn't even know that they got dusted at the end. I had no clue. I was like, what? Oh, that explains so much. Yeah.
Chat's saying Eternals. I think Eternals might have the best chance of something, right? Like if there was Marvel Oscar bait, it is quite literally the movie directed by the person that just won Best Director later this year.
Like before December something?
Yeah, I think it's November, right? Something like that. They'll hit they'll be in the running, so to speak.
Yeah, they'll be in the running for sure. Plus it's at the end of the cycle, which means it'll be on everyone's mind. So if it like is good and does what it's supposed to do, then I think it can stand a chance. But again, I still don't know what the hell that movie's going to be about. Truly.
Yeah.
I truly have no clue how they're like, when the literal tagline is them talking about how it's going to span 7,000 years.
Yeah.
How do you make that movie?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of time. I can get that, like, you can jump forward and back and do all that stuff, but like, it's been tried before, and I don't think anyone successfully pulled off like the greatest saga ever. It's never happened where someone's like, they nailed it. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell a big story.
I feel like it's also hard for them to be Oscar bait because they have to like, their production is like shorter and they have to worry about continuity, setup, and follow up from other films versus like if we take another film that has like mass appeal, is rooted in nerddom and won tons of awards like a Lord of the Rings, didn't have those problems. Like those movies, first of all, took forever to make. But then second of all, they did not have to be like they had to kind of be loyal to the source material, but they didn't have to worry about, well, we need to fit this movie in between these other two movies that are coming out. And we have to have some tie-in to,
the rest of
the Silmarillion. And we have to have some nod to Farmer Giles of Ham. And we got to make sure that all of this, but they have that issue with the MCU. So I just don't think any of the movies, because sometimes I feel like trying to follow up on other threads or leave a thread to the next one is kind of annoying. I feel like it bogs the movie down, which is why I think I liked some of the show stuff more, because they didn't have to be like, well, we've got to make sure we have an homage to these three characters or a thread to what happened here. It's just so much to juggle. I don't envy the directors.
Oh, they
and writers
juggle a
on this.
shit ton every movie. I mean, they'll still be doing that for the future movies, right? Like they're introducing so
Yeah.
many new characters. Even for like the next Doctor Strange, they're introducing like 2 or 3 giant characters that have already been cast, I think. So I agree with you. They have to juggle a lot, whereas other movies don't. So it's tough.
I know
to,
a lot of people were saying that they're like, what about Lord of the Rings? That won a bunch of Academy Awards. Here's all I'm gonna say. I don't know. It was 20 years ago. It still boggles my mind. It was 20 years ago the first one came out. I don't know if you remember being in the theater or like what the reaction was to the first movie. Well, loved and adored. People were like, where is this going? Like, I remember when I was in the theater and they were just like, let's end it with the fellowship split and like, okay, Mr. Frodo, let's go off. And then it just cuts to black. I remember being like, how dare they? How dare they? I have to wait a year for this? How dare they? And that's the emotion I had. It wasn't like, what great acting. And what this was like, it wasn't it. Like the world was beautiful. The only things that people thought about were like, New Zealand is lovely. And let's see where the second one goes. It wasn't until that second one came out and blew everyone's balls off.
Yeah.
Or if you had no balls, you grew balls and then they exploded off. It was like that movie sealed the deal. That first movie came out, people were just like, all right, let's see where they go. Yeah. And that's why the third movie won all the awards.
It did, yeah. The third one won literally every award.
Because it took 3 movies for them to be like, yeah, okay, you can have them all.
Yeah.
Even though all 3 movies in that Lord of the Rings trilogy are like,
they're great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful movies. So, it took 3 for them to admit.
I remember the light that was cast over I was in India when those movies came out. Put the light that was cast over the movie theater, like in the Forging of the Ring. Like because I had already read the books. I was like 10. I'd already read the books. I remember when she was like, but all of them were deceived with Kate Blanchett's voice. And I remember being like, we're witnessing history. Like, as like a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, I was like, like it was like so crazy. And seeing like people who had no clue what this was in the audience be like, because that movie is visually stunning and auditorily stunning. Because they have like the voices in the back going, oh,
yeah.
And you're like, what is happening? What is happening?
The opening scene, a man swings a giant mace and dudes go like, oh! It's how you can not be hyped for that movie from the minute it starts is just like, you have done a service to us. Like, you can tell it was a work of love and passion by everyone involved. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I can say the same about The Hobbit, but Lord of the Rings,
I agree.
Definite, like, you can tell everyone there was like, we are going to do a thing. There's 99% of that movie still holds up today. All these years, it doesn't. There's some moments where the Nazgul appear and you can see how they like darkened. They like put like a little face mask on. You can kind of see it now because the special effects and TVs have gotten better. And you're like,
I've watched the 4K version.
Most of it holds up.
Yeah, I watched the 4K versions recently, and people from my community, I've said this a billion times, the green screen stuff looks real bad. Specifically when the Ents are walking and Two Towers, it's just kind of like this looks worse than Muppets. They should have just gotten the Muppets to do this part because it looks real bad.
Yeah, in 4K it doesn't stand up, but that scene when they first walk into Moria,
it's
like
incredible.
That scene where Ian McKellen says like, "Behold, the great halls of the dwarves."
Oh yeah,
Moria, and they play that like just soul-stirring score, and you see the scale of it.
It's remarkable.
I was like,
it's all remarkable. Yeah, there's so many incredible shots.
My dad hates all of all this stupid stuff. He's like one of those people that is like very serious about films. You know what I mean? And I remember he was walking by during that scene where they're like reading the journal in Moria, and there was like that beam of light falling on the casket. I remember my dad stopping and being like, and he's a professional photographer. He's like, this film cinematography, that's perfect. What movie is this? And I was like, what? He was like, that is a beautiful scene. And he was like pausing it and showing me that you can turn every single shot of like that 10 minutes into like a wallpaper. He was breaking down to me like how that's really impressive to be able to do something like that, to be able like to have a movie that's so beautiful that you can get a perfect shot just by pausing it repeatedly because everything just looks so good. And I was like, wow.
And that right there is the difference between something like Lord of the Rings and the MCU. The MCU rarely takes time for a moment to give you a beautiful shot. In fact, I would wager the only beautiful shot moment is Thanos' smile at the end of Infinity War. That moment where he's just like him.
I think Taika does.
Taika's got that shot
visually,
on the bridge.
Electric,
that bridge shot the electric is like
bridge.
Pretty.
He's got a few in Ragnarok, but I think that's why Ragnarok stands out because it felt like the first time, for me at least, that the films were truly comic booky because there were some things that looked like a frame from a cover.
Yeah,
he has it in a few points where he just like boom, there's the shot and it looks perfect.
The only other time I think that they've done shots like that is the one time in every Avengers movie where they all like end up posing.
Yeah.
There's like pose. The circle in the first one, the one where they're all like they jump into action, and it's cheesy, but like you also get that vibe of like
it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
damn, that's cool.
I still think it's talking about it without the rest of the movie being watched at the same time is cheesy as fuck, but within that movie, when you're watching it, you're like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what you've been waiting for. It's the reason why the Avengers assemble at the end of Endgame. You're just like, this is the hypest moment in the history of movies. Yeah, like there's a reason, because it's like, oh, why do they all decide to stand not in a straight line and in like a weird thing so you can see every single one of them? Who knows? It's the coolest shit I've ever seen. Right?
It's comic book cover, right?
Yeah. They all had to be visible. All the heroes no one could stand next to someone. No one stands behind the Hulk. So when the camera goes by, everyone,
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. It's the greatest comic book shot, potentially ever, and probably forever, in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's tough to find like cinematography in the MCU. I do think that
because it has to be fast and like
yeah. That bridge shot is up there though. I'm trying to think if there's any other like crazy shots.
Taika has a few. I also really love the one of basically like you see Thor and then there's like a moment where you realize Hulk is in the room with him, and like there's like a quick pan up where he goes like out of focus and you see the Hulk sitting on this giant skull bed with these like beads around his neck and like a wide, like that one too. I was like, oh, like we're getting Hulk glamour shots. We've never gotten Hulk glamour shots in any place in the MCU. We've never gotten those like, this is a really cool guy shots. But Taika gave us like a good handful of awesome, like really good, just like shots of the Hulk.
Yeah,
you're right. That whole movie is. I'm trying to like the lightning jump towards the end is a great scene.
That's one of the best.
Or Loki showing up on the ship, like flying. He's like, "Oh, save ya!" Like there's a lot of amazing shots in that film that I think is really well done. Yeah, you're totally right.
I will say though, that Loki shot might also be benefited heavily by the song playing. As he's falling to the bridge, like that might heighten that entire experience. But
I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe not, because
it cheapens it.
My biggest complaint is that they use Immigrant Song twice in the same movie.
They do in the opening,
once in the beginning and then once later. And when they play it later, I'm like, cool, I know what you're doing, but like also, why are we doing this again? Why?
It's pretty
there are other
good,
songs.
Though. Like the opening is really good when he's.
The opening's great. It's just one of those things where it's like it's the same song. So it's like, is his theme? Is this like I don't know.
They paid a lot of money for those rights, Jesse. Let them play it twice.
I don't know. I thought it was weird they used the song twice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have used it in the beginning.
Zep isn't cheap. Zep is expensive.
But it doesn't, like, it would have been better if they only used it once when he got his lightning powers. And he's like, what are you, god of hammers? And then he kicked in and it would have been like, yeah, that would have been amazing. But because they used it once already in the film, I was like, its emotional impact is down 6%. That's all I'm saying.
I got you.
Oh, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it was bad music. I'm saying they already used it once, and I wouldn't have done. I'm just directorially, I would not have done that. I feel like I'm on the same level as Taika Waititi. I've done YouTube for 10 years.
Noted. We'll take that in consideration.
You.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it was like closing the loop a little bit. I felt like it was maybe a narrative choice to be like, hey, remember when Thor was a badass in the beginning of this movie with his hammer and single-handedly beat the crap out of Sturt and did all of this. Well, he's been defeated. He's lost an eye. He's lost his hammer, and he's still that bitch. That was why I thought they played that song. Like, even without the hammer, even without his eyeball, he's still that dude from the beginning of the movie that killed like an entire army on his own. He's still got it. He's still got the juice. And I felt like maybe
I get
that's
it, but
why
it's
they
not
used
like
the
the
same song.
Avengers theme, right? Where it's like the theme. We've never, it's one of those things we've never heard it before.
True.
We finally got it for this. Like if it isn't like Thor. The problem is Thor doesn't have theme music. Like Thor doesn't have a theme song. He doesn't have
his own song. Yeah.
So he has no like. He's back
Well,
and here's his theme and he's good to go. And so
he had one of those first two movies, but
I couldn't tell you what it was.
If you go back
and tell you what it was,
they're definitely there. And I think even in in Ragnarok, like I want to say at least it's hinted at, or maybe even like one small snippet of the song is there in the third one. But yeah, it's very uplifting. It's very much like what those two movies are. I can remember the theme song, but it's not the Avengers theme song, right?
If moving forward, his theme song is Immigrant Song, then I'm fine. Then I'm fine. If from now on, looking back, I'll be like, oh, it's totally fine. Because every time he shows up, it's like, I come from the land of the ice and snow. And I'll be like, great. Yeah, this is his theme song. We're good.
Yeah.
And I'll be fine. But like, because it's just the one movie, I'm being critical because I can.
I saw.
Did Iron Man have a theme song, or was it just the Black Sabbath song?
He does eventually, but
he had a bunch of AC/DC as well.
Yeah.
Was like, every time he show up, AC/DC would play. Yeah, I don't know.
I think he definitely had like a stinger though, if I recall.
Oh, he did. It was like a guitar riff. He had like, it
Yeah.
plays at the end of the first Iron Man movie. He definitely has like a thing. But there's a video that's on YouTube, and I think it's like every main theme of every Marvel movie. And as you play through it, it does like in order of release all the Marvel themes. And you realize as you listen through it, most of those you didn't realize was the theme of that character. You're like, wait, this is this character's theme song? Because the most recognizable ones are Captain America,
Ant-Man.
and then the Avengers ones.
It's the Ant-Man one.
And even the Avenger ones, this is why Age of Ultron's so weird. The main theme of Age of Ultron is not the main theme of the Avengers. It's just a different theme.
Well, it's a different composer too. What is it? Alan Silvestri, I think, did Endgame and Infinity War, and that one to me is like the canonical. Is it? No, not Alan Silvestri. That's someone completely different. Who was the composer for those two movies?
Silvestri is
Was it Silvestri?
I don't know how to say it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Funny enough, Jesse, do you remember? Actually, I'm not going to say their name on stream. When we were in San Francisco, Jesse, one of the people at that screening, their uncle is Alan Silvestri.
Yes, I recently it was
probably at my wedding, maybe.
Yeah, it was the wedding. I talked with said person.
Yes,
about the whole thing. I was like,
Bronzy probably met him there at the wedding as well. Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't realize that they were related to the composer of most of the MCU films.
Yeah. They very much like to remind me about that. I'm like, look, dude, you're not cool. All right, you can't use your uncle. Yeah, that's the cool crap.
Your uncle's very cool. Your uncle's the coolest.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
You gotta just tell him that. No, he knows it's cool. That's why you gotta say that. You gotta knock him down a peg.
Right.
The other big bit of
that's
news,
friendship right there. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, keep him humble. The other big bit of news is for whatever reason, we didn't really get one. Loki and I guess all subsequent Disney Plus MCU things are moving to Wednesdays instead of Fridays, which I guess in the grand scheme of things, if you do it now, they're not going to be competing with themselves potentially with like box office movies. But they're like, the only reason that it's like upsetting to me is that the show's on Monday. So now we're going to be Wednesday to Monday for a longer wait. I don't really have any other issues with it.
It's very similar to what they did with the Star Wars animated shows.
Yeah.
When they were pumping out a Star Wars movie every year, it allowed them to do things like in Star Wars Rebels, they could tell a story leading up to
tee up to
Rogue
it.
One. Like it actually, and so then in Rogue One, in the background, it's like General Syndulla, and you're like, ah! Right? It's things like that. So they could like tell the stories that connected better with what's going on. So you could have arcs about, there's this weird Death Star plan, and then like the next week you're literally in a movie about that. And so it allows them to do better things. We'll see. We'll see how that works with the MCU.
Yeah. It's whatever. That there's not, Bronze, do you have any takes on it? I don't really know if there are any takes. It's just a scheduling issue for me.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I 100% think they don't want people to have to pick between going to see the movie on the weekend with their friends and the new show dropping.
Yeah.
I feel like they want day one tickets. Even that whole trailer about like, the Marvel at the movies or whatever, I think they really want their box office sales back. They're trying to remove any obstacle they can. Yeah. They're trying to remove any obstacle they can. And like, how they say with streaming, like, oh, your competition is another streamer. Your competition's everything. It's TV, it's football. I feel like Marvel's in that space right now. Like, listen, our competition isn't just other movies. It's shows. It's our shows. It's hiking on the weekend. We gotta make sure that people are. That's all they gotta do on the weekend is go see the movie.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, you can
Hollywood
tell.
That's
Hollywood. You can tell it's bad in the movie industry at the moment because we were last night just talking about how some theaters near us are like you can rent a theater for $100.
Yeah.
Like the whole theater, and you can just bring your friends for like $100. That's you can like fill that thing, you're making bank on that. Like you were ripping them off.
As
$100 for a theater. I mean, like
as someone who's rented draft houses out, that is a penny what it usually costs to do a full theater. Yeah.
Well, a lot of movie theaters were already running on very small margins. And they would make majority of their money
popcorn and
concessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which most people don't pay the money for that because it's overpriced and the quality's not great, which is why we've seen like nicer boutique theaters kind of come up. Like most of my friends, you have the theater you go to for movies you don't give a crap about and you sneak in snacks. And then you have the movie you go to have a full experience and have artisanal popcorn with a beer, And we've seen so many of those rise up. Even in Seattle, I feel like I have my option of 3 or 4 like nicer movie places, and then you have like the ones where nobody's buying concessions. So I don't know. I feel like what sucks is the pandemic has hit not only movie theaters but comic book stores so hard. And so I was reading this article that was kind of talking about like, are print comics ever going to make a comeback? Are people ever going to buy these at the same rate they were earlier? Are comic book stores ever going to have a sustainable business model? Like, do people even care about print comics anymore? And I'm scared because I'm like, that's the source material for all of the best movies. Like, they adjust it. Yes, as much as we want to say, oh, comic books suck, and that canned response, fam, all of our best storylines have been inspired and kind of like that seed was planted in comics that were written in the 60s, in the 70s, and they're still relevant because like that much love and care went into them, Like WandaVision is just a different take on House of M. And so, Ragnarok is just a different take on Planet Hulk. So I get worried about that. 3 of my favorite local comic book shops closed during the pandemic.
Really?
I heard yesterday we were having this exact same conversation. I was hanging out with friends for the first time in forever, and we were having this exact same conversation, and I heard the best roast, but I think it's entirely true. It's currently comic books are written by 60-year-olds for 50-year-olds. That was the roast I heard. I was like, yo, I believe that though. That's how I feel sometimes. And because there's a lot of characters you're like, how do you get an 18-year-old like into comics right now? Like, because they have the movies, they have the games. To find comics, you have to literally find a comic book shop in your area. They used to be in grocery stores, y'all. I don't know if you remember this. You could go to the grocery store and pick up comics.
That's where I used to get them. I'd get the ones with the little foil card on them.
You have to find a hobby shop or comic shop, and there are so few now that you have to travel to get it. And like, why? Why do that? You have all
Yeah,
these
you
other
have to
alternative sources
travel.
for these characters.
You have to travel to get it because, like, I mean, that was where the comic book censorship or the ban was so horrible, like saying like, oh, these aren't good for kids. They need to be like put away and all of that, or hidden away, basically. But this is also where it gets into like, I don't want to say this. Am I going to upset people today? Why it matters so much who is at the hobby store. And if that person is like a old grognard that hates women and hates kids and hates
Grognard.
everybody and is like, well, back in my day, D&D was this, that actively pushes people out of the hobby. With
That is
D&D, you
most
kind of
comic
have
book
other
shops. I'm not gonna
options.
lie.
Yeah, I mean
Yes,
that's comic book.
100%.
That's comic book shop to me.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, like I
The Simpsons
remember
guy.
I went in to buy Miss Marvel as a single, and the person was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering who their target demographic was for this, and I'm seeing it." And I'm over here like,
Wow.
that comic is worth hundreds of dollars now because I'm like, it was the best selling comic in the year it came out. You stupid fuck. Like, but I remember picking it up and him being like, "I was wondering who the target demographic was for this, and I'm seeing it," and I was like, I need to switch comic book stores.
Yeah, I would have never gone
That's
back.
happened to me like 4 or 5 times. Like where it's like just bad. So it's like, how do people get into comics? Like, because there are younger people and like different voices getting into the comics writing scene, Jesse. But unfortunately, how do you find it? How do you venture out and find it other than perusing, the racks?
Yeah.
And there's not a
and-
good place to do that.
And it's tough if you're young and you want to tell a story for younger people. You want to tell a new story. If you run a comic book shop, like the margins there, you have to determine what to order, how much to order of what, how much you're being forced upon by different companies, by different publishers. And so if you see something new, you don't know if anyone wants to buy it. So how many of that do you order? Do you order any? Like you get like 2 or 3 and so even then, something new, something fun that younger people would like, then those younger people have to find you and have to want to look at this new thing. The barrier for entry for anyone in comics right now is so high. And that's why I always think back to that's the early 90s, man. There were so many indie publishers and so many different things happening. And it was a different time. And yeah, I don't, comics sort of like cannibalize themselves. And I don't know. It's wild to see what's happened, but it certainly is not an industry I would ever say like, you should definitely get into that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you would.
Well, how much have like digital sales now just ruined in-person comic shops as well, right? Like you just get a Marvel Limited or a Comixology thing, and then you never have to go into another store ever again, unless you want that like feeling of the actual, comic book.
But it's still not, in my opinion, like easy to scroll. Like, wait, because I feel like those apps are great if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But not if you're trying to
Browsing.
figure out what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like for the only time I've discovered new comics is, and maybe it's just me, it's been walking and looking at racks, being like, oh, this looks cool. Because the cover is such a huge part of the art form, right? Like you usually like the comic book cover artists are famous because like the cover can pull you in and get you to read number 86 of a comic you haven't read prior to that,
Yeah.
But what's interesting is there are publishers coming in and trying to change it. Like I think it's TKO Presents is like a newer publisher that doesn't work with Diamond Distribution. They kind of self-distribute. And the first issue of every comic is free. And so you can go online, read the first issue, and then you buy the whole set. Because for a lot of people, it's like, I don't want to wait every week for my comic. So you actually can pre-order the entire set of like 6 to 8 comics, whatever it is, get the whole thing, or you can get it in graphic novel version. So like, I think there's ways to save the medium. But if you're like, why do you want print to survive? Because it's cool.
There always
like
will be a place for it. I don't think, there's a place for vinyl these days, right? Like, I think it will always exist. I just don't know if it'll be the biggest market, which, that's a sign of the times, right? Like technology has kind of changed a lot of anything. Nothing's
MTG
printed
Arena
yeah.
is fantastic, but there's still a market for physical MTG cards. We're seeing a market for physical Pokemon cards. I have Doctor Strange's first solo appearance, after he exited Strange Tales and got his own series. I feel like stuff like people do want to own a piece of history.
Mhm.
So
And
I don't know.
there's also generational stuff. I mean, right now manga is huge. Like just in like
Yeah, that's someone in my chat just said that
huge.
as well. It's taken over the entire like younger demographic, right, Jesse?
Yeah, and like it's a style thing, right? Because comics do not look like manga, and so there's
Yeah.
a whole different style of what you're into, and that's just I think it's on a comic book shop, for example, to like have those things there, right? Just like when bookstores were like slowly going out of business, the bookstores that survived and that are still thriving now, even pandemic stuff, are the ones that were like, we're a bookstore, but we're also a place like where you can listen to music, and a place where you can do live reads, and a place where it's a coffee shop, and a place where like it's a community place to hang out more than just selling books. And so I think the more you do if you have a comic book shop, and the more you do if you have something that's sort of like limited and what you can do, that's why they're selling the giant posable sideshow things, and like you can see them trying to expand, but also it's it's still the same. It's like tough. But if you're ever in is it Strange Planet? Is that the name of the like big London comic book shop? That place has 2-3 floors, and everything there it's constantly packed. And that's because they've like created a persona. Like you have to do that. Forbidden Planet, that's what it is.
Oh.
Forbidden Planet. Like you have to do that kind of thing. You have to make yourself bigger than just like. Here's the thing, though. If you go in that shop, if you go into Forbidden Planet, everyone in there, it's probably a little touristy, but like everyone in there is every shape, size, color, creed, whatever. And your local comic book shop and let you know it ain't like that. It ain't much like that.
Yeah. Well, depending on if you're like a big city, for sure.
Yeah.
The norm comic book shop is rough.
I think there are other mediums that seem more out of date that have still survived, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I do think like the experience of going and getting something is like that immediate rush, the immediate feedback is so good. But I also think, like I said, like the industry needs to like change, because anytime a show comes out, the graphic novel version of it is sold out, and
it
yet
skyrockets. Yeah,
they still haven't figured this out.
they're not back ordering it like weeks before.
I haven't looked, but I promise you, if you try to go buy Invincible right now, I'm sure the first trade paperback is like $40, and in 6 months they will print it when nobody wants it anymore. But I have a feeling, because I had a friend ask me for my copy, and I'm like, this happened with Umbrella Academy. This happened every single time. Yeah. They sell out, and somehow the printers still have not figured out, oh, hey, we should probably do a reprint of this graphic novel that's going to go crazy. We're not going to be able to keep it in stock for 6 months because people want to read the original source material. And it's like, you guys are missing a gold mine here. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's why digital comics are going crazy whenever that stuff hits, right? Because yeah. I definitely looked into, even though I read all of Invincible digitally the first way through. I've definitely looked into getting, like, I think there's 4 omnibuses or 3 omnibuses for it. And they're hard as fuck to get. They are not easy right now. So
there's some that are now worth hundreds of dollars, like for an omnibus. I'm waiting for my Sandmans to go up, and I'm waiting. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be a time.
They're still doing that show, right?
The still signed on to do it? I have no clue, but I'm waiting. I'm like, all my Sandman collectibles are gonna quintuple in price, and I still won't sell them because I'm a sentimental fool.
Did I ever tell you that when I was a kid, when you go into comic book shops, they would have like standees or different things of different comics?
Yeah.
Every Sandman standee scared me.
Really?
Every single one. As a kid, I was terrified by them. I was like weirded out by them. I was always I don't know if it was like the art style or whatever, but it always creeped me out, and I would like have to look away. Oh yeah. Now I like appreciate the hell out of them. But when I was a kid, I was like,
if we're telling
it was always creepy to me. I don't know why.
If we're telling comic book stories, my brother worked at a comic book store for 7 or 8 years, and so like every weekend, that's where I would go. to do something, whether it was like LAN and play Halo, because that was something that they offered, or like just sit there and like see what the fuck they were, see what they had in store. I bought all of the anime wall scrolls back in the day. That was what I filled my room with, was anime wall scrolls. I'm glad I don't have those anymore, because they are really embarrassing. Looking back, I remember having
now
like
my brain's just like,
what
how cool would it be? Like, how cool would it be if like we had a comic book store where you could watch like a live taping of a show like this one? Didn't Kevin Smith do something like that? And it would be like more.
There was a place in LA that had a back room that you could watch podcasts. I've been there, and I think it closed down. Room? I think you would go in. It was a comic book shop. I think it was also a record store? ? I can't remember. But like in the back, right. In the back had like a place where you could watch podcasts be filmed. And they would film all these things, and then like everything else, because LA is like, well,
was that
we don't have $1 billion. It was Meltdown.
Yeah, that's what chat's saying. Yeah.
That's kind of cool, because then you could work together with creators and bring a bunch of people into your store. I think it's just about innovating, but that's sad that closed. Was that a pandemic casualty as well?
No, it was pre-pandemic. It was just another in LA to own and to like rent any property. It costs a fortune, and that's just life.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But I gotta find those wall scrolls. I had a sick Vegeta wall scroll. I thought that was pretty sick. I had an Escaflowne wall scroll, which I didn't even like that anime.
Yo, Escaflowne was the first time I realized anime is all a lie. It's what I realized.
What? Hold on.
Yeah, Escaflowne was the first time. So Escaflowne, here's the thing I learned about Escaflowne. Taught me the truth about anime.
Okay.
Escaflowne is 16 of the best episodes you'll ever watch. It hits the midpoint and is trash the rest of the way. And I realized most anime follows that route, where it's like the first half of a season is phenomenal and the end sucks. And someone once explained to me that, and I don't know if this is true, but this is the explanation I got, because they're like, this is why though. Apparently in like that manga culture, there's the like getting there is the adventure and the important thing, and the ending is not as important as like the road you traveled to get there. And I don't know that that's true, and I still doesn't sit right with me, because I'm like, you're still telling a story. It's still got to be good. But like, that's what I was told, and I was like, I don't know that I believe that. But all I'm saying is, Escaflowne was the first time I realized, like, you go through, like, the first half of that show is incredible. There are moments in there where I'm like, oh my God, I'm having Final Fantasy VI vibes. Like, I feel the show. And then a plot twist happens, and you're like, oh, this can only get better. No, it's shit. The entire rest of the way, shit. And that is how I feel about most, like, just anime in general. It's how I felt about when they did Full Metal Alchemist for the first time, where they were like, because they just get ahead of everything.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll just figure it out. And that's why I was so thankful
Sword Art Online was mine.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online, when you hit season 1.5, the one with the elves, I was like, y'all okay? That was literally my response. I was like, y'all good? Got some weird incest, weird shit happen. Are y'all okay over there?
Well,
like,
elves and incest. I mean, name a better combo,
I was so confused. I was like, y'all good?
There are very few anime that I've ever seen that end in a way that I'm satisfied. I'm like, happy Cowboy Bebop, they did 26 and that was it. They're like, we're done. That's it. We're done. We're never doing, like, I think that's great. Like, but even things like Samurai Champloo, I'm like, I'm not sure I even remember the end. Like, I remember the journey getting there, but I don't even remember the end of that. Like, and there are many other ones, especially even one season ones. I don't remember a lot of where it ended. I remember themes. I remember like a weird kid with a baseball bat flying through power lines, killing people. Don't remember the name of it. Don't remember how it ended, but I remember that was like the theme of it, right? I mean, there's so many fascinating things, but was it Home Run Kid? See, I don't remember any of these. All I'm saying is I learned long ago that anime's trash, and God bless everyone.
I recently watched an anime movie, Jesse, that's like about a girl that controls the rain, and it had like pretty good ratings on whatever thing and I was like, oh cool, let's see.
You like it?
And no.
You didn't like that one? Really?
No.
Weathering with
'Cause at
You's
the
pretty
end,
good.
like, she's just like, you know, like, oh yeah, like, screw the planet, just let it drown.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, this is random and weird.
I
And I
thought
was
Weathering
like,
with You was good.
like it was. I liked like the first 2/3 of it, but the last third, I was like, why is this movie
what
still
I'm
going?
saying.
Like, it just hit a
Even-
point where I was like, why is this still going? Why aren't we
Every-
done here?
And that's why I think I have to believe what I was told, because everything, I can just start naming off anime that I've seen, and it all is like great, and then the ending sucks every
What about
time.
Gurren Lagann, Jesse? Where do we sit in the Gurren Lagann world?
I don't think I got through that. So I'm not like a
okay.
big anime dude.
I'm not
the
either.
guy who, if
naming.
his like the person he's dating at the time loves anime, I'm like, I guess I'll watch. So I will say, actually, the best anime I've ever seen is the one where the girls fight with their butts, and like they fight with their butts. Oh yeah. Oh, it's a sports anime, but it's like butt fighting.
Is that the volleyball
It's hilarious. It's very good. And in the end, you're just like,
Kaijo?
that actually is that what it is? I think so. Oh yeah,
The
it's
chat's
hilarious. Kaijo, yeah, it's actually good. It's actually good. Y'all think I'm messing. It's actually very good. It's so good. I'm not even playing. It's actually good. Akira, I love Akira. I think the ending is too wild for me. Like, the ending's too much.
It gets a little bit weird. Yeah.
I liked Standalone Complex, Ghost in the Shell. I liked it.
Even
I liked that one.
I was
I
like,
thought it was okay. I like Second Gig's ending a bit more, but like, yeah, it suffers from that same thing you're talking about, where you're like, oh, okay, that's an end.
Wait, hold
I
on.
suppose.
Someone in my chat, Jesse, and then we're getting off the anime topic.
Yeah.
Someone in my chat just said that you've not seen Evangelion. Everything?
I totally have.
Have you
the very
seen
first girl I
everything?
dated in-
Like
yes,
everything?
most everything. The first girl I dated in college was a huge fan because she thought she looked like one of the characters. So that's where I was at in my freshman year of college. Yeah, that's where I was at.
She was a giant mech. That's what you're saying?
She thought she looked like a mech. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
No, that's where I was at in college. So she thought she looked like her, and so I watched it all, and I will say that has a trash ending too. In fact,
have
the
you
movie
seen all?
has
The
a
movie.
trashier.
I was gonna say
The movie has a sucky. I think they all. Back then I didn't realize that was a bad ending. I just knew that it ended, and now I've definitely realized that. Yeah, all of it is trash ending. All of it. All of it. And I can't figure out why. And I have to believe what I was told. Because, you brought up Escaflowne. That's all I'm saying.
There
you
we
got
go.
us on
I
this
started
tangent.
this.
I remember loving Escaflowne. I was like, I can't believe this is the show I've been waiting for. It's so neat. And then they were just like,
I had never even seen. I honestly bought the wall scrolls because I liked the art on them. I'd never even seen a lot of the stuff. Like, I didn't even know that that was an Escaflowne thing. I was like, that's a cool looking mech thing. I think I want that one.
Again, let me say, if you want 14, 15, 16 great episodes, Escaflowne is phenomenal. The beginning of that is like it literally feels like a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
And then there's like a plot twist moment, and you're like, this can only get better. It goes the wrong direction. It goes like,
I'm not gonna state my opinions because I like Inuyasha, so I'm pretty sure I have busted taste bud syndrome when it comes to anime.
I literally said I like
the vampire guy.
I like a thing where butts attack each other.
Is that Inuyasha? What's Inuyasha? Hold on. Let me Google.
Inuyasha is the one with the dog guy. I guess maybe you might think he's a vampire.
Yeah, he's a vampire guy in red. Yeah, I don't know anything about that anime. He's a vampire guy in red with the white hair. And the 12-year-old girl that he steals from middle school down a well or something like that. All right,
that's right. I remember seeing those. Yes,
I think that's how that story goes.
I still rewatch those. I don't know why. I just like to put them on in the background. And it seems like every episode they have even less pieces of the shit cone jewel where it's like, oh, it's almost full. Never mind. And it's half full. Oh, no, it's wholly full. And oh, no, it's half full. And it's just crazy because so much of it is like repetition. And I kind of know it's bad, but I still can't help but love it because I just love the tropes in it. And I love Sesshomaru and I love that baboon guy. But there's so many tropes in it where they will flash back to something that happened 3 minutes ago, or they'll take information they already know and just be like, wait, does Kikyo love Inuyasha? I have to warn him but I can't move, and she's like always paralyzed or something. And then he's like, Kagome, how will I tell her that I
just
care
remember Kagome
and that I
being
love
screamed
Kikyo?
aloud. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, he knows that you and Kikyo had a thing. She knows. Everybody knows. Y'all been known for like 2 seasons. Y'all have known this. This is a give information. She's like, no, Kikyo, why do you want to kill Inuyasha? And I'm like, but you know, Kagome, why she wants to kill Inuyasha. You know why.
Have you practiced your anime voices? Because those are like very, very good dub voices. I don't know if that was on point.
Have you...
That was like 10
I
out
don't
of 10.
like that you call them good dub voices because that says a lot about dubs. It's like,
wait
no! Watch out, Fuji-san! We gotta get out of here!
That's also very good. That's also very good. Those are great. You guys should do you should dub some anime.
Have y'all ever seen Other Guys? There's where Mark Wahlberg talks about how he learned how to dance to make fun of. That's me. I learned the impression to make fun of anime. That's my only practice. So maybe I got kind of good at it, making fun of it.
I think you got a job if you want one.
This is why
new career as Kagome.
As kids, we watched Dragon Ball Z because we didn't have to deal with like plot. It was all just like,
it was incredible.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, will Goku reach Super Saiyan 4? And he's like, like 45 minutes of that shit.
But the thing that sucked, Jesse,
zero plot
about
no one cared. He was like, like, will it happen? And we were just like, will it happen? And then when it finally happened 8 episodes later, he was like, I'll punch you through the earth, Goku. Yeah. And you're like, okay.
See, I would watch that on Toonami, and then Inuyasha would come afterwards on Saturday nights. So I know both worlds. I know all about them. About the vampire in red named Inuyasha, who would just scream Kagome nonstop.
Kagome!
Yeah, then Gundam Wing would come on. And if it was Endless Waltz, I would definitely tune in. If it was anything else, I'd turn it off. Yeah. All right, we're done here. This is a show about the Marvel Cinematic
You did this. You mentioned
I mentioned wall scrolls.
You triggered me, JP.
I guess so.
You reminded me that I hate Escaflowne. And here we are.
It's true.
This was you.
It's true. That's how it goes. Let's do some shout outs. Bronze, what are you going to get up to this week? What are you doing? Where can people check out your stuff?
Hi, hello. I'm Jasmine, that bronze girl Bular. You can find me on Twitch, on Twitter, on everything at that bronze girl. And yeah, I'm going to be getting into Final Fantasy Village Resident
Nice.
Village today, finally. Final Fantasy Village, where a sexy Final Fantasy lady tries to murder me. I'm super excited to dive into that. I've been doing some GTA RP on the weekends on the TSRP server. And I have a D&D game that airs Tuesday nights at 6 p.m.
Tune in. Jesse, what's going on with you?
Hi, I'm Jesse Cox. You can find me on the internet wherever. I also played a bunch of Village yesterday, about like 6 or so hours. And let me just tell you, the beginning of that game is wild in a way that you like can't believe how beautiful that game looks. But I will say to anyone out there, are you having like motion sickness when you play this game? Just put it out there to the world. Maybe it's just my crew and we're all old men now, but all of us were like, hey boys, you got stomach aches? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I got a stomach ache. We couldn't change the FOV, so we were like, all right, let's just keep plowing through. So
yeah,
we'll see. But I mean, look, Bronze is gonna lose her mind. There's so much Big Mama. It's just
true.
I love that whole family. I want all of them, every one of them, all the 4 main people in that game. Bronze doesn't know what I'm talking about, but when you meet them, you'll be like, Jesse, you weirdo. I want all 4 of them.
Jesse, have you seen
all 4 of them?
I saw.
What do you mean want?
And
I think he means
what?
want. I think it means what it.
Oh, like in a physical fashion, in an adult fashion.
Oh, I want them. Biblically.
Oh, I was waiting for the rest of that sentence. You know,
No,
I thought I was waiting for like, I want all of them.
Oh, in my life. I want them in my life, is what I meant. No, I'll simply say I didn't realize, I had no clue. So when we played this game, I didn't realize there was more than just
Lady Dimitrescu.
Mama. Yeah, I didn't know there was more. And so now that I know there's more, I'm like, ooh. So
have you seen the behind the scenes recording of the introduction
yes,
of the Four
it
Lords?
is incredible.
Where they have the little...
Don't look at it. It's super spoilery, but it has like, oh my God.
Dude, when she runs off the little doll.
Incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was like, the actors in this game, the actual physical acting is so good. When it shows like the green screen behind the scenes, holy shit. It's... Love it. Thumbs up.
I just can't believe that no one laughs at that. Like, they all keep a straight face as this full-grown woman is acting like she's a marionette and just waddling across the room. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
How scary is it?
Depends.
Compared to 7.
I mean,
you know, like before that, Resident Evil wasn't that scary. Oh, okay.
I would say there's some scenes that are like awful. Like, there's moments that happen in this game from Jump Street. All I'll say is poor Ethan Winters. People on the internet giving him shit, making fun of him because he looks like a goober. But here's the thing.
Hey, he looks like Shapiro.
Ah, damn, that boy. I feel like the entire time, I'm like, this man. Oh my God. Oh yeah.
Did you catch how stupid they are though, Jesse? When it comes to the devs, how they bit off 2 fingers. So it's the introduction of the game is Resident Evil 8.
For bronze! Stop spoiling it for
If she's been on the internet, it's like impossible to not know that.
Didn't he already have his hand chopped off and re-stapled on?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't ruin
That's not a spoiler. He gets his hand.
Don't ruin it for bronze.
It's a dumb game. But it's not bad.
It's great. It's great.
It's dumb in all the right ways. I guess.
There's moments where we actually have forgotten that we're supposed to run from like the women who are running, like chasing you down. They're like, I just want to taste you. And we're like, what do we do, guys? Where do we go? We're like, run away. It's like, should we though? Should we run?
Yeah.
Yes. All I'm saying is it's been a long quarantine and we are super horny for video game characters. That's what I'm saying.
I think so.
Is it closer to like Resident Evil 4 in that it's story with like some, like, I don't know, it's more like mystical and arcane and occultish in nature, whereas like 7 was like,
I cannot say, I'm not gonna spoil a thing. I'm not gonna say anything.
You're getting into spoiler territories. Yeah,
I'm not saying a damn thing.
It is Resident Evil 4 in gameplay, but also Resident Evil 7 in its horror in a lot of ways. And there's still a good like bit of jump scares in it.
No, I hate.
In fact, I would say there's a lot of jump scares in it.
There's a lot of and there's many jump scares.
They even got better with the jump scares, where it's like they know that people expect a jump scare in this moment, so they'll actually like delay the jump scare until something else is like triggered the jump scare. So they got smart about it like that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I hate jump scares.
Thankfully, the old music trope exists, so as long as there's no music, you're fine.
Yeah.
So like, thank God that exists. So you know, like when you can explore and when you should be moving.
That's true.
So
that's true. Anyways, that's it for the MCU crew. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing this week. We're watching more Invincible later today with 2 people who have never seen the show or read the comic. They don't know a single thing about Let me tell you, it was real fun watching that first episode. I'll say that. They had no idea what was happening, and it was good times. It was good times. Wednesday, we'll have Maximilian Dude on Drop Frames. Friday, me and Jesse are going to watch some Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest stuff.
Woo!
Late into the night, at least the first 2 hours of it. I don't know if we're going to be staying on till like 6 a.m. or whatever the fuck that thing ends, because it goes a while. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then we'll put in some games in between all that, at least on my channel. So that is that. We'll be back next week with another MCU crew. I might start bringing out the top, let's rate your MCU movie type content. I don't know if we're there yet. We'll see. We might also bring a guest on. Who's to say?
We should do a build up to the next film. What's the next film?
Loki's the next show. We could.
Loki.
We rewatch all the Thor movies.
Why
do
would
we
you do
rewatch
that to
the
me?
Avengers?
Why would you
That's
make me?
now that's a way to kill a podcast right there.
Why, why would you do that? Why would
Jesse's
you
out.
make me do that?
Jesse's out after this.
Top 5 worst moments from the first 2 Thor movies.
I would actually. It would be a challenge for you to be like, find me the 5 best moments in the first Thor movie. I would be like, I guess when that guy's face turns into a laser, maybe. I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah. We
It's
each
the
have
bring
to
me the
find a
beer and
moment.
he throws the
Yeah,
thing and
yeah,
smashes
that's it. That's
down.
the number one
probably
moment
it.
is smashing the beer.
It's the one where Darcy is like fawning over Thor because he's just walking around shirtless. Probably there's that one.
That's every movie he's in.
That's true.
Someone's being like, he's so hot,
Yeah. Anyways,
which
I'm
is
thinking
like not wrong.
we're doing next week's content. Maybe we do a lead up to. It would either be Black Widow and or Loki is first, but could also do a lead into Black Widow. But then it's like let's watch every MCU movie, starting with Iron Man 2, everyone's favorite. It'll be great. It'll be a good time.
Bring me my blood. I want my blood.
Now wait, give me a Whiplash with the Cookie Monster.
I just want my blood. I couldn't remember the queen. I was about to be like, yes, Cookie Monster. That's what was about to come out of my mouth. I'm like, I just want my bird. No bird for you.
Yoda?
That was also Yoda. That wasn't even Cookie
I know.
Monster.
I just forgot what Cookie Monster's voice was, so now it's Yoda. Now it's Yoda up there. Come on, Tom Hardy, you will join me in eating cookie?
That's it, everyone. Thanks for watching the MCU Crew. We'll have more dumb voices and impressions from Jesse and Bronze next week. We'll get Bronze to do the entire show in her anime voice while Jesse does Yoda doing the Cookie Monster. It'll be a doozy.
Terrible endings they have. Hmm?
What? I'm done. We're out. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.